Welcome to Hard Count Sports Podcast, Episode 9. I'm Zach Humphrey, joined as ever by my partner in crime, Ross the Boss Kennedy. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, not too bad, Zach. Not too bad. I've been thoroughly enjoying our great weather here in Northern Ireland. We've got a bit of a heat wave lately. It's been great. But yeah, enjoying life, getting ready for a new podcast, another one, Episode 9 now we're on. Crazy that we've got this far. It was only, about near 3 months ago that we started this, back in May.
I know, yeah.
So, yeah, we've been going strong, and I'm looking forward to another night of news, another interview, and then we're looking at the AFC and NFC South today, which covers Tom Brady's team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Super Bowl champs.
Yes, that's it. And I'm looking forward to taking a deep dive into that, Zach, and I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, definitely. There's some juicy content there, Ross, some very good teams and a lot to unpack. And, you know, I'm very excited as well for tonight's interview. We're jumping back into Laney College, back into Last Chance U. We've got an interview lined up with wide receiver during season 5 of Netflix's Last Chance U, RJ Stern, which I think will be a really good one. We heard Coach Beam's outlook on Laney College, you know, and that experience. It'll be great to hear from a player as well. But before we do any of that, let's jump into the news, Ross. And we actually had quite a busy week this week.
Yeah, we have, yep.
There was quite a bit to happen. Some good news, some interesting news, and then also
some good, some bad.
Exactly, Ross. Would you like to kick us off with the first one?
I will indeed. Like, I knew that was coming to me. So I'll kick things off with a rather unfortunate incident which happened on Wednesday. So early in the hours of Wednesday morning, Tuesday night, Richard Sherman was arrested this week he had a few charges to his name. He was booked originally for resisting arrest and a burglary. Oh, that was well said from me. A domestic violence charge. He tried to break into his in-laws' house, which surprised me because actually, you know, obviously I'm a 49ers fan, as I always mention in these podcasts, and I only really knew the side of Richard Sherman, which was the kind of helpful side and the caring side. You know, he came alongside a lot of our young guys in the team and really coached them up and was a very influential figure in the 49ers dressing room and one that was highly respected. So I was disappointed to see this news, and as things kind of played out, we saw that not only that evening was he in trouble, but during the day on Tuesday, he was investigated by the Washington State Police in an alleged hit and run. So we had a few more charges racked up there. He did then, he's now gone on to plead not guilty to the 5 charges, which I'll give you a rundown on them. Driving under the influence, reckless endangerment of road workers, criminal trespass, malicious mischief, and resisting arrest, as I mentioned earlier. But yes, Zach, he's actually pleaded not guilty. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I don't think I'm at the liberty really to say anything. You know, I'm obviously not involved in that situation. I'm not really read up on the Washington state laws either. What I will say is I hope that justice is served. It's an unfortunate event to happen for everybody involved. You know, it's definitely, it's put a bad mark on Richard Sherman's career and legacy. And also it comes at a time where he's without a team as well. So this really will affect his chances of signing with someone in the future. And as we've discussed many times in the podcast, the NFL are a league which really likes its public image. And this is something which is going to drag that through the mud a bit. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see. He went on later to apologize and made a statement on Instagram, which he said, I behaved in a manner which I'm not proud of, and I've been dealing with some personal issues over the past several months, which don't justify my actions. So yes, okay, you know, he's come out and made that statement. It's unfortunate, and you know, I do feel very sorry for everybody involved, and I feel bad for him and his family in particular. But you know, we'll see what happens with there. In my opinion, we will. I can't see what happened. You know, I can't see this playing out well for Richard Sherman. Whether he's, you know, all the charges are dropped or anything like that, or, you know, if he's fine with the judicial system, he gets through that. I don't think that NFL teams will, you know, really pick up on this. But, you know, we'll see.
this is the thing, Zach. I think that not only is this going to shoot him in the foot a bit, he's already a player who was not really wanted by any NFL teams before this.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a free agent anyway, and he wasn't. I don't even think he was really shown much interest in. There was a wee bit of talk from Seattle. The Raiders were maybe in the pot there.
Yeah.
The 49ers possibly even bringing him back. But I think this will put an end to any talks of a future contract at any team.
Now, definitely.
I read a few Instagram comments when it came to... Now, the video actually was released. If you haven't seen the video, did you see it, Zach?
I did, yeah.
It was pretty bad.
No, it wasn't good. It was not good.
Really, really kind of disappointed me there. As I said, I've only seen him in a good light, and this shocked me. But I read the Instagram comments on that post, and there were some people jumping to the conclusion of CTE. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's a head injury. It's built up through your career. NFL players have been known to have it, and it's to do with the traumatic force that they receive while playing the game. And some people are maybe blaming this on that illness, and I don't know about that, but I think that whatever has happened here, there is some mental, problems. And he said himself, as you read out the statement, there's obviously some things he's going through, and I think more than anything, you have to give him a bit of space at this time. But we'll move on now to be fair, another bleak situation, and maybe not for the party you think. But Tom Brady revealed just recently that he played through the entire 2020 season with a torn MCL. Zach, what do you think?
This just... it blew me away when I read this. When I read it, I was like, okay. First of all, I read it as Tom Brady has an MCL whenever it flashed up on my phone with Bleacher Report, and I was thinking, oh no, like he's going to be out this season. And then I read had, and I looked into it. I saw what Ian Rappaport reported. And Tom Brady, this is an injury that he picked up in his last ever game with the New England Patriots against the Titans, Foxborough in the wildcard game in 2019. And it didn't stop him. He signed with the Bucs. He continued on and playing last season. I didn't even know he had a knee injury until I saw in the off season at the boat parade in Tampa Bay after they won the Super Bowl. You see the compression sleeve he had on in the brace. Then I was like, oh, that doesn't look very, that really doesn't look good. But it clearly didn't stop Tom Brady. He finished the season throwing for 4,633 yards, 40 touchdowns with a completion percentage of 65.7, which for a 43-year-old is already incredible. Like
off the charts.
But a 43-year-old with a torn MCL, are you kidding me?
Crazy times. Like,
what
amazing.
A guy,
I know. I couldn't quite believe it actually when I heard it. There's been a lot of players who it's come out that they maybe played a game with an injury, but to play a whole season is a completely different. It's a different animal. Like, what a guy. And John Beam said himself, as I put up on the Instagram account this week. By the way, if you don't follow us there, go and follow us there. We also have a Twitter page, Facebook as well. But John Beam, coach of Laney College, said he had the ability and what's the word? He had the
drive.
That's it.
That fire.
He had the drive and he had the fire. He said this about Tom. He coached him just before college, and he said, this guy was something different, and that really proves it, doesn't it? That really just proves.
He's another
here's the other
competitive
side
guy,
of the story.
So
here's the other side of the story, Zach. It may be all good and well that he got through the season, but Tampa Bay could be looking at a bit of a sticky situation here, because if they knew about the injury during the season, they didn't declare the injury, so that is foul play by the NFL's book, and they could be looking at potentially a fine. Tom Brady could be potentially looking at some time out to start the next season, a suspension. But we'll see how that plays out. I actually don't think that Goodell will bring down the hammer, but
I don't think so.
It could possibly happen.
I think to fine him or to punish Tom Brady that way is ridiculous. I think, and I'm not read up about that whole side of it. I know that whenever Tom Brady there was a book written about New England, about the dynasty it's called, and Gisele Bundchen, who is Tom Brady's wife, revealed that Tom played through concussions and things throughout his career. I remember reading that and people saying, "Oh, this is awful. You know, that should have been declared. And with an MCL, I'm not so sure. I think his head injuries are different, you know, but
they are,
for me, you know, I just think that, okay, go after the performance enhancing drugs, go after that kind of side of it, but to go after someone who didn't declare an MCL even though they're able to play through it, I don't think it's a problem. You know, so we'll see there. A guy who seemingly won't retire. However, we also did have someone who retired last week.
Here, Zach, I like that transition.
You like it? Seamless, was it?
Was seamless.
We had wide receiver Ted Ginn, who was drafted in 2007 by the Miami Dolphins, has decided to hang it up on his NFL career after 14 seasons. He had stints with the San Francisco 49ers, the Arizona Cardinals, the New Orleans Saints. He played with the Chicago Bears last year, and he went to Super Bowl 50 with the Carolina Panthers. Ross, what are your thoughts on this one?
To be fair, he was a well-known player. Every time I turned the TV on and play, he was actually one of these guys who seemed to pop up everywhere for me. Ted Ginn Jr. was a very good wide receiver in this league, and one that will be overlooked in my opinion. Now, obviously, there's no Hall of Fame question over his head. I think he's out of that contingent, sadly. But he has a very honourable mention in my played with the 49ers, had arguably his best time with the Panthers there when he went to the Super Bowl in 2015. His stats look a little bit like this. You know, in 193 regular season games, he had 412 receptions, 5,742 yards picked up, and he averaged around 13.9 yards a catch with a total of 33 touchdowns. So that's not too bad. I mean, okay, it's spanning, 14 seasons? So, you know, especially the yardage build up there, it's maybe not great, but I think he definitely, you know what, he had a talent on special teams. Punt returning, kick returning.
Pretty good at it, yeah.
He returned 4 punts for touchdown, three kickoffs for touchdowns. Amazing. Yeah. And the quote that he came out there with was, I've dedicated my entire life to football until now. I'm gonna go out in peace, and I'm gonna leave on my own terms. And I think that's a very good way to leave. You know, a lot of people maybe feel like they're forced out of the game because they're not signed up by a team. I feel like Richard Sherman could be one of these people who's maybe forced into retirement due to his actions. Ted Ginn's not. You know, he's left on a good foot, and I think that coaching, like his dad who coached at his high school where he went, I think there's possibly an opening for him in coaching.
Well, I think, you know, that your point there about how, you know, he went out on his own terms, I think the fact that he went 14 seasons in the NFL says a lot about it says a lot about the player he is, and a lot about the leader he is as well towards the end of his career. Because, you know, what does the NFL stand for? Not for long. That's what, you know. So whenever you think of the players who've come into this league and have quickly gone out of it, you know, there's so many. And Ted Ginn, and wide receiver is one of these positions which is versatile, and you don't always, you know, as well as running back, but you don't always have those players who start off and go on and have, you know, double-digit years, you know, seasons, or you know, their career, their career total of years is in the double digits. You don't always get that. So to go as far as 14 years, and, you know, I do agree that, you know, whenever you think of wide receivers, you're not going to think, oh, Ted Ginn, he's up there, but he is in his own right, you know. So, you know, happy retirement to you, and congrats on a great career, Ted Ginn.
All the best in your future endeavors.
Here's a spicy bit of news for you, Ross.
Yeah, go for it.
I read this week, and I thought, right, and I'm going to add this into the news because I'm quite interested to hear it. Okay, Tony Gonzalez, okay, Hall of Fame tight end, and played with the Atlanta Falcons and the Kansas City Chiefs, okay? He is leaving his role with Fox Sports. He was a presenter at Fox NFL Sunday to pursue acting.
Yeah,
what's your thoughts on this?
I like this.
Okay.
You know, the kind of path I'm going to follow here is all tight ends are actors.
Okay.
Look at those guys. I mean, George Kittle, Travis Kelce,
Gronk.
Absolutely, yeah, Gronk. Can't forget him. they're divas, to be fair. They're
Mm.
steal the spotlight. And Tony Gonzalez isn't about to be left out of that contingent.
Yeah.
And I think that even while hosting Fox Sports, he was quite animated, quite an individual, quite a character. And I think that this is actually the perfect career move for him. Now, I went on actually and looked at his past film, the past films he's been in. He's been, sorry, not film, but just in terms of TV and stuff, he's been in quite a few. He starred in NCIS.
I think he was on
AI
MTV
Assault.
Cribs as well.
Was,
MTV
yeah,
Cribs,
he was. I was going to come to that, but you've stolen it from me, Zach.
Sorry about that.
I'm joking. Yes, but he's starting a few stuff. So I think this will actually be a seamless transition for him. I think that he was born for the stage. If you really kind of start digging deep into his film, but not on the field, look at his film from presenting and hosting. He is a natural. So I think it is a good idea. What do you think, though?
I don't know. I think he'll always have a role in the NFL if ever wants to come back to it, because
that's true.
He's just an elite. He was an elite player. He's got insane knowledge of the game. What I will say is he's got character. I remember
he does.
I remember seeing the intros you get of whenever the start of the game, they're introducing the offense and the defense, and his offense. Him saying his name and then the college that he went to was always funny. Like, he always tried, whether it be an accent or
I've forgotten about
I
that,
am Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah,
stuff like that. So
that was good.
He's got some personality about him, and I like that. So I think he might do well in the whole.
Tell me this, so Zach, name one current football player who you think should also end up in cinema.
See, I would quite like. Well, okay. How about this for a movie pitch for you? Okay, so Space Jam is out. Space Jam 2 is out. Okay.
Right. Yep.
And for those of you who don't know, Space Jam is the story of Looney Tunes trying to battle aliens. This is the original I'm talking about. Trying to battle aliens to save the planet. And the way they do that is to challenge them to a basketball game. And they recruit Michael Jordan. Right, okay. How about Looney Tunes recruit Patrick Mahomes after last year's Super Bowl losing to the dark side of the force, and Tom Brady? They try and challenge up and take him down, take the evil empire down. I think Patrick Mahomes with Looney Tunes would make, I don't know what you call it, space grid or something. I don't know. We'll think of a title.
Sounds good.
What do you think?
But I think we've just received a call from BR Gridiron there. I think you're stealing their content.
Well,
Zach,
it's called recycling, Ross.
Yeah, you see now. Copyright, I hope not. But I'm going to say Manny Najera.
Oh.
I know.
One of our guys.
I thought about this. I thought about one of our guys, one of the guys we've had on. He's quiet. He's a quiet guy, but I think he has the knack for the stage. Could be wrong, though, but I'm going to put him up there, I think.
What about Coach Beam?
Coach Beam. Josh Lanier as well. I mean, he could maybe rap for you.
Coach Beam for the new James Bond is what I want to see. I think that'll be a class one.
When it comes to the musical numbers, though, you can't beat Josh Lanier getting up there and singing like.
That's it, definitely. Here, whenever I was waiting to come on here tonight, I was scrolling through my phone and I noticed there's some news popping off around the league, Ross.
Yeah, go for it.
We're recording it on Monday night, actually.
I think I've seen this.
We're recording on Monday night, obviously, and breaking news within our hour before we started recording is Melvin Gordon, defensive end formerly of the LA Chargers, has signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So he's going to link up with TJ Watt and, I don't know, maybe form the Steel Curtain 2.0 in Pittsburgh. I really like this.
Possibly.
Move, boss.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good addition. Obviously, they lost Bud Dupree, and put him, on the other side of TJ Watt.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
You don't want to catch that smoke. That's all I'm going to say.
Watch out.
Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow better watch out.
Hold on to your ACLs.
Pittsburgh. We will come to this later, though. We're going to be breaking down AFC
South.
No, we did. We broke that down last week.
We
Sorry,
did, yes.
My head's away. But we will. Sorry, we'll be breaking down AFC South this week. We broke the North down last week. And what I said about the Pittsburgh Steelers was that I think their defensive unit will not be one to mess around with.
No,
their offense will
way.
be a wee bit more tricky. But yes, I like that addition. I think it makes a strong defensive unit even stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm all for it.
And it's only a year as well, so you're not tied down to anything. If it doesn't work out within the year, both parties can walk away. Seemingly no real damage. And with the cap situation in Pittsburgh, they've lost some talent. I think that Melvin Ingram's a pretty good one. Yes, he's had some injury problems, but I think that's a pretty good addition. Mm-hmm. And the last story I want to talk to you about, Ross, is the Manning brothers have signed up for Monday Night Football on ESPN2, and they're going to cover 10 games throughout the year, and they're going to have throughout the season between now 2021 and 2024, I think, and they're going to have celebrity guests, former players and current players on their broadcast. I think this is going to be must-watch TV because I think the Mannings are possibly my favorite comedians, and I'm not talking about American football players. I'm talking comedians of all time. Peyton Manning's hilarious.
Yeah, no, they're a good double act.
Mm-hmm.
Picture this, right? They walk into the studio, sitting in front of Eli Manning's face. There's a packet of crisps. What does he do? Does he open them and munch his way through them? And
you stealing that off NFL Films there, Ross?
You see, Jack, now you're coming after me here.
Oh.
But here, yes, that's a great duo to have.
Yeah, I like
possibly the American Anthem deck.
That's pretty good.
Again, but yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this season. There's going to be so many ups and so many downs, but there's going to be more positives than negatives. Obviously last year it was kind of all a wee bit tarnished by COVID and stuff. I think this year they're coming back with vengeance. I think there's going to be an amazing football season. And, the guys you're putting up there, Eli and Peyton.
It's going to be hilarious.
It's going to blow you away.
But they're going to have knowledge of the game as well. I should point that out,
But do you want to know an even better duo to add to your Monday Night Football? Ross and Zach. And
I think Eli and Peyton are better, Ross. I have to be truthful here.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But anyway,
yes,
we're going to be joining you. We're joining you now. We're going to be joined with RJ Stern, a product of John Beams. We had Coach John on 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have one of his players on in a few seconds. RJ, he's out of Laney College, and let me tell you this, he's some athlete.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be joined by him in a few seconds. See you then. Welcome to segment 2 of the Hard Count Sports podcast. I'm very glad to be joined with ex-Laney College wide receiver and star of Last Chance U, the Netflix series that is so popular here in the UK and in the States. We have RJ Stern with us today. How are you, RJ?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Yes, doing well. Great.
Good.
Weather here is powerful. What's the weather like over there in Oakland?
It's cool, sunny, 7 degrees outside. It's perfect.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, nice little breeze.
Yeah. So as I mentioned there, you're on the series Last Chance U. It's here very well known here. A lot of guys watch it and have watched it. For the past 5 seasons. But I think the one with Laney College kind of stuck out, because you guys had a certain type of energy and a certain type of, charisma.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me this. What was your initial reaction when you found out that you were going to be on this show?
I mean, probably the same as anybody's. Just like, holy shit, really? Oh, excuse me, sorry. Oh my goodness, like wow, like
so good.
Whoa, yeah, no, it was great. It was crazy. I just remember they came in April of 2019 to film us for the day, and we didn't do anything special. We just worked out, and it was, and then we didn't see them for a while. So I was like, damn, we scared them off. They have to go to another place, like maybe with a little more money, or like Ventura College or something down SoCal. And then August rolls around, fall camp comes around, and boom, they're there, and I'm like, what? They're like, no way. Okay.
Did these guys come into the room, the producers and stuff, and the coach Beam said, 2 claps ready?
Yeah, no, that's the thing for him. I've been seeing him on social media doing it a lot, but
he did it to us. I had no clue what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does it. He's been doing it for a while. That's been his thing for a bit.
Yeah.
Definitely. Had you watched the Last Chance U before, you guys were on it?
No.
I
watched maybe 3 episodes from the indie season, the first one.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I truthfully did not really care for the players or the coaches that much. I just didn't like the way they interacted with each other. I thought, I don't know, just wasn't my scene,
Yeah.
And at the same time, like, I'm not going to gain any introspection out of that, because I literally am going through exactly what they're going through. But the difference is, I don't have a scholarship. I don't have housing. I don't have a meal. Like, these guys have it fucking made. And it was just crazy to me, because a lot of them would fucking complain and like not go to class and like all this crap. And it's like, dude, there are people in Oakland right now doing exactly what you're doing, basically for free.
Yeah.
They're going to class and they're taking out loans and they're in debt. And, some of them are homeless. And it's like, yeah, it pissed me off, honestly, because like these guys have everything handed to them on a platter. And not everything, but like they have a lot more resources than us, and they found a way to just be negative somehow, some way. So, and that's why they weren't very successful, bottom line. But yeah, so long, that's a long-winded way of saying, I just wasn't really into that program at the time. But I love the season I was on. I thought that because it was very, very different. Very different.
Absolutely.
It was kind of unique in that way.
That's something that I thought, whenever I watched because I watched the first couple as well. I made it through an episode, and I was like, I don't really like this. So whenever I saw season 5, I was like, I'll give this one a shot. And I was like, I knew from a few minutes in, this is going to be different, and as you say, Oakland is such a big character in it, and it was interesting for us, because we're very ill educated into the whole college system, and that it's just because it's American football, as we call it. I'm sorry, that probably burns your ears hearing it called American football, but
not at all. Not at all.
That's just the college side of it. That's just we're just not educated in it. And to hear about Oakland, and the situation there was very interesting. And I'm curious to know, so they picked Laney, and for you, how did you end up playing football at Laney?
Well, I started off initially. Sorry about that. I started off initially at Contra Costa.
Okay.
I was there for like maybe a semester, maybe less than a semester. And I saw the way their football team was run, and it just reminded me too much of my high school.
Okay.
It was just all over the place, unorganized. Players were selfish. No one cared about what they were doing. Everybody was kind of lazy, and I didn't like the atmosphere. I didn't care for it at all. And, a big red flag for me was I missed all of summer workouts because I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to play football or afford school or anything.
Yeah.
And I was a starter when I came back.
Wow.
Like I was like, what the fuck? Like, how am I? And obviously it didn't last very long because I didn't know anything. But to me, that was just an indicator that like, okay, like this is probably not a good place for me. I'm not going to grow here. I'm not going to change. So I was like, well, Laney has a good program, and it's right by where I live, like 45-minute BART and bus ride. So, or walking and BART ride. So I was like, I'll just go there. So I just showed up. It was basically like I walked on.
Wow.
But so like, like they didn't recruit me. They didn't call me. They didn't talk to me. I just showed up, and just after like a day, I was pretty much like guaranteed that I was going to make the team. Because everyone,
RJ, you see, if I just showed up, I think it would be a very different reaction.
Probably.
Obviously, you had enough football IQ and ability to just show up there and impress them immediately.
Well, really, what it was I don't like bragging, but I'm a really good athlete. I don't think that gets shown very much on the show. Like, obviously, I can run routes. I catch the football pretty well.
Yep.
But I came out there in the first week. We were going, we were doing testing, and I had the fastest 5-10-5 drill. I ran a 3.92.
Wow,
that's pretty fast.
Crazy. That is good.
Amazing.
Yeah, like for context, the fastest time at the NFL Combine last year was barely like 3.97 or something. So I was flying. And I'll never forget it. Coach Bean, I took my shorts off. He was the one who timed it. I took my shorts off. I had these like bright blue tights on. He was like, "Hey, you better run if you're gonna wear that, bro. You better be able to run." I was like, I just looked at him. I was like, "I can run." That's all I said to him. And then I ran 3.92 and then 3.93, and he was like, "Well, shit, brother." Excuse my language, but like that's really like what he said.
Yeah,
he let you wear the tights.
Try to keep it family friendly, but no, you're all good.
I apologize. It's just my vocabulary.
It's good. It's all good.
That's a crazy speeds. That I don't think I've ever heard of a college player running as fast. You know, obviously we've heard recently of the 40 times coming out. Justin Fields ran real quick. But 3.93. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a 5-10-5 drill. So you start in the middle, you go right, you go left, and then you finish through. As they also call it the 20-yard shuttle. But you're trying to start and stop. And no one, I have very rarely do I see guys in the NFL at the NFL Combine running that fast. So I was really quick. I was really fast. Straight ahead too. I did really well during gassers, and like I was just in good shape, and I was a strong lifter. I had a 300-pound hang climb. And a 450 back squat. Wow. So yeah, they just saw how hard I worked. So that it was easy for me to make the team on that regard. But I actually struggled a lot with football IQ. Like I basically had to learn football.
RJ, did you watch football growing up yourself? When you were younger and stuff, did you know the game coming into playing? Were you kind of associated with the sport already?
Yeah. No, I played in high school. I played all through high school. I watched football growing up. But because of where I went to high school, we had limited resources. So we only had 2 coaches on our coaching staff. Maybe 3 at most. And so there wasn't a whole lot of time to like teach everybody the intricacies of the game and like all those things. So I never picked up on it. I was just good enough to like know the playbook and like be athletic enough. And I just had a lot of natural instinct and ability. So that's really what helped me do okay in high school. But that just doesn't work in college. It just does not work at any level in college. JUCO, NAIA, D3, D2, D1, it does not work. You have to know what you're doing. So I just attacked it like I need to reteach myself this game, and it worked out pretty well for me, man. I got pretty good. So I learned a lot about football. I feel like
definitely. No, you did. Definitely.
Whenever we mentioned this to you off camera just before, we had the extreme pleasure of interviewing your former head coach and John Beam a couple of weeks ago, and what a character he is. Just from the 40 minutes we were talking to him, his energy was just infectious, and it's just so funny. He was actually planning a holiday to the UK before the pandemic, and he was like, "Okay, I'm going to come to your houses in Northern Ireland and come and visit you guys." And we were like, "Wow!"
I was actually thinking to myself, see if I'm in the shower or something, and I hear a knock on the door, and I open the door, and John Beam's looking back at me. And he says 2 claps ready.
I know.
Don't know what I'm going to be doing there.
Definitely. But he was saying, I'm sure it's funny for you because you know the guy better than we do. But he was saying on the in our conversation, we were talking about players in that 2019 team, and your name came up, and that was the thing he said about you was RJ will outwork everybody. That guy has an insane work ethic. And he was praising your ability as well. We watched the relationship between coach and player, and he's a guy who'll coach you hard, and he will, call you out if he feels like he should. What was your relationship like with Coach Beam?
Well, yeah. So I won't say it's always been like great.
Yeah. But
I won't say it's always bad either. I think my first 2 years there, it was he never really had to say much to me, to be honest. I never had to, like, it was never, obviously, it was, like, based off what he said, it was never a struggle for him to get me to work harder. Like, if anything, he would tell me I work too hard, which is, that's
rare.
it's a great thing to say.
It is rare, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think there was a day at practice my freshman year at Laney where I was just messing things up, and he pulled me out and he was yelling at me, cussing me out, telling me to dye my hair, any other color but blonde, because I'm so dang blonde. And I was like, gotcha. But I was really frustrated with myself because I kept messing things up. I just got really mad.
Yeah.
But he said that to me. Like, I don't remember what it was that he said to me. But I got put back in the next play, and I caught a touchdown with one hand. And I pinned it to my head. And then I got blown up. And that for me was like a defining moment for both of us, because he knew he had just cussed me out, and then he saw me go make that play, and he was like, I think I know what makes RJ tick. So from that point on, he was just like, I'm just gonna be ruthless because it makes him better. And
do you think he was right in that approach?
I'm never, I guess, because in a way, like, I don't know. Words don't really motivate me. My motivation and drive has never come from anything external. It's always been in here. So it really, like, to him, I think it seemed like he was motivating me. And to an extent, it definitely was motivating, because I always feel like I need to prove people wrong and prove myself right. But for the most part, like, a lot of that just came from internalizing like what I want and just trying to go be that. But no, he's definitely a great coach, and we have we have a good relationship now. Like, we've talked everything out, and we're all good. But I don't know. It's tough to say like if it was the right approach or not. I mean, I was a starter. I caught touchdowns. I did really well. So obviously, like, he did something right. No, and so did I.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that.
That's it. And then obviously in Last Chance U, your storyline was one of the ones that, was followed quite a lot. You were kind of one of the main characters in the whole thing. RJ, was there anything that the producers maybe put in there or left out that made you kind of annoyed? Or, was there even something that you thought to yourself, oh, why did that not make the cut?
A couple of things. So Beam's biggest criticism of me was like, sometimes I go too wide on my releases. I won't get into that because I have a completely different, me and him just don't see eye to eye philosophically as far as route running is concerned. So like that whole thing, I thought they made it look like I could run routes a little more than as if you watch my highlight tape, like, I put guys on skates with my routes.
I watched stuff actually, and I have to admit, you did not. You were unfairly treated, I think, in terms of. I think the series kind of sometimes focused on your the things you couldn't do. But you see, when you watch that tape, like you say, amazing, and you can do things that I didn't even know were possible.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
No worries.
I felt the same way. I felt like they didn't showcase like what I'm actually capable of enough. But I get it, because like they have to tell their story, they have to tell the narrative, and they get it right. I personally think they get it right. The other thing, I would have been cool if they had just shown more one-on-ones with me and Ray.
Oh yeah,
because Ray will tell you, he'll never back down from a challenge. That's not Ray. But if it was like, if it's between me and Dior, he wants to guard Dior. He says that. And like, no disrespect, but like, that's just, we had this mutual thing at practice where we only went one-on-one with each other. I really didn't go with anyone else, and it made me better. It made me so much better. But so if they had just shown like some of the stuff I got on him, it might have given people a little more perspective to like what I'm actually capable of.
Yes.
Not to say that I was always beating Ray, because it's like, that's just not going to happen. It's literally like, he's probably one of the top 3 best football players I've ever met.
Welcome to section 3 of this week's episode, and we were very, very honored to join. I'll start that again. Hold on.
You're all right
now. Okay. Welcome to section 3 of this week's episode, and it was an absolute pleasure to be joined there by RJ Stern, wide receiver there out of Laney College, and fantastic guy, very great personality, and he was joking with us there off camera about The Office as well. Ross.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Yeah,
good
he's a
banter
very
there.
funny guy. He is, and actually, I just cut that interview short, so
That's right.
it was about 20 minutes. So if you want to listen to the full thing, you can do that on Friday. We'll be putting out the full interview. But yeah, no, really funny guy. Had a lot of jokes and stuff to tell us, and really interesting. Actually, he seems to have, he's obviously played football at Laney, and he seems to maybe be heading towards a different career path. He did mention coaching deals possibly, but he says he's still young, so he's keeping his options open, and it's good to hear that he's enjoying life and stuff. So that's great. But we're now going to head into a more serious topic. NFC and AFC South today, Zach. We're going to give our predictions for what way that's going to go. And two very interesting divisions.
A lot of good teams. I'm excited for this week's division breakdown. I think you have the Super Bowl champions. You have a team with a 2,000-yard rusher as well thrown in there.
Yeah.
You have a lot of interesting situations, players who've switched to different teams and different organizations. And so it'll be interesting to watch those as they transpire next year. So I think there's a lot to break down, Ross. I think we're going to start with the NFC South today. And I think you are going to take us through the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, the team that finished number one in the NFC South this past season, the New Orleans Saints. Now, this is going to be an interesting season for them. Zach, a lot of change is happening over in New Orleans. They have obviously lost their Hall of Fame quarterback, Drew Brees. Not Hall of Fame yet, but I'd imagine in the coming years he'll be inducted there.
No question.
And Drew Brees, yeah. So he's gone. He's out of there. He's retired. And the big question will be, who takes the reins as the number one quarterback? I think that it has to be Jameis Winston. He is he played a long time. He had a long spell in Tampa. And I know there's some ups and downs, mainly downs, to be fair. He had, a bit of an issue with interceptions and stuff. But I think that he will get the number one. He'll get the call up there to be number one for the Saints. On the other side of the ball, you have Taysom Hill, who is a very different type of player. He's more like a kind of, he can do
Swiss
it all.
Army knife. Yeah,
that's the one. He's can be, he's plug and play. He can be put in tight end. He can be put out a wide receiver, sometimes even as a running back. And I think that Taysom Hill, actually, teams have figured him out now. I think when you see Taysom Hill coming in the shotgun, I think you realize to yourself that the defense realizes, we know what's going to happen here. He's either going to run it down the gut or there's going to be some trickery. So I think you can't have him as your starting quarterback. I don't actually think that he's a good quarterback when it comes to pure throwing. I think he's better used in the way that we've seen him. But yeah, obviously they have some offensive players who are really good. Kamara. Michael Thomas is coming into a year where it's kind of a prove-it year for him, I feel. He had a pretty off year last season, and if he can do it this year, I think he needs to be fair. I was actually taking a look at the depth chart for the Saints wide receiver, and it's pretty dire actually. So I think he'll need to step up there. Defensively, then I think they're pretty sound there. They had the 4th ranked defense in 2020. They allowed only 1,502 yards on the ground. So I think their running defense is pretty good. And they're passing. You've got Marshawn Lattimore back there, Malcolm Jenkins, a few guys who are going to shut you down if you're trying to throw their way. But I think the Saints this season will rely on their defensive efforts. I think offensively they will be poor, to be honest. I think Jameis Winston will get the call up, but he won't do enough. And I think next year you could be looking at record low enough to see yourself at the higher end of the draft to maybe take a rookie. So I'm going to say Saints 6-11.
Okay,
6-11.
That's
pretty low.
Yep. Yeah, that was a bit of a down. See, my thing with the Saints is I think that they had a terrible cap situation coming into this year. They were 65 million over the cap, which is ridiculous. And I know the cap went down a bit with COVID and everything. And so for that, you had a lot of talent leave. Obviously, Drew Brees leaving, not just the quarterback he is, but the leader that he is. I remember Reggie Bush recorded a video. He was at the Saints facility late one night, and Drew Brees is standing in the middle of the practice field at 9 o'clock, and he's running through visually and mentally what's going to happen in the game. Nobody else in the field, and it speaks volumes to the competitor and the preparation he went into the game. He put into the game. So you're losing that kind of a guy. I think that's going to be a big blow for them. Plus, as well, you're losing pieces around. Like you have Emmanuel Sanders went out. Jared Cook's gone as well. Trey Hendrickson is out in the D-line. So I think the Saints will be a bit thinner this year. And I think it will be a year where they're just trying to recalibrate and establish their own culture. So I have them going down at 9-8. I don't think they're going to dip as low as you say they are. I still think they're a good team, but I think it'll be, a little bit of a regression, more so than a progression this season. I'm going to go on and talk about the team who went second in the division, the Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What an amazing achievement they have done last year. You had a team that was under Jameis Winston previously. He went 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions, which is unbelievable. I didn't even think that would be possible. 30 touchdowns is amazing, but 30 interceptions, that is just embarrassing. So
they kind of cancel each other out.
They do. You upgrade from him into Tom Brady, a guy who's bringing this winning culture. He's done it so many years before in New England, and he translated it into Tampa Bay. And also there was a year where they were faced with adversity. To do it, as RJ was saying, to do it in a year where you have COVID-19, you have a pandemic, the season, there's so many uncertainties with it. To establish a team around you, to bring guys in and to build a rapport with your wide receivers, your running backs, and for the defense to play like they did was unbelievable. But that's not all. That's not just the thing that impresses me the most. It's also the fact that, and I think this goes unnoticed, is you look at that team, they finished second in the division. Okay. They figured it out. Yeah. They got hot towards the end of the year. They hadn't lost a game since I think it was week 11. They didn't lose a game. And they went on the road every wildcard game. They beat Washington on the road. The Saints, they went to New Orleans. Now, yes, you could factor in that the Superdome wasn't full, but they beat the Saints, their division rivals. And actually, I'd quite like to say they didn't just beat them. They kind of annihilated them a bit, which wasn't great for Drew Brees' last game. And also they went to Lambeau Field and beat Aaron Rodgers, MVP Aaron Rodgers in the Green Bay Packers.
They did.
Their offense, you third best in scoring, the 7th overall. They had additions like Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, Leonard Fournette, and then they brought back Godwin and Evans, and then also Scotty Miller. I think he sometimes goes under the radar, but as Tom Brady likes to call him, his nickname is Scooter Miller. He played amazing. He definitely established a great relationship with Brady, and very fast guy. There was all this conversation about who's faster, him or Tyreek Hill. And I think that the offense did remind me of parts of the Avengers, just insane talent, who wanted to go out and really win a trophy, and so we're maybe willing to sacrifice a better payday to go and play with Tom Brady. And it translated, they obviously did make that title. But for me, the standout part was the defense. This is a team that really took a step up. They not long ago they were one of the worst defenses in the league. Todd Bowles, whenever he got sacked by the New York Jets, went in there and translated that, or completely transitioned that team around. Devin White, unbelievable talent. Shaquille Barrett, who was at the Broncos, signed with them and ended up having a 20-sack season the year before, and then went on and had an unbelievable year as well. If you look at that backfield as well, you have Antoine Winfield as well, who's been unbelievable as a rookie, and the pass rush as well, straight up unbelievable. Vita Vea, I think he's a really good player, and you also have Ndamukong Suh. And for me, going into next year, the thing that scares me the most is everybody came back. They are the first NFL team to bring every single person from their Super Bowl team the year before back. So I think they're going to run it back. I think they will make it back to that game in February. I know Tom Brady wants to go 17-0. For me, I just think in this modern day football, it's impossible. I have them going 13-4. And I do think that they'll have a really good chance of going back-to-back this season.
Yeah, actually, that's a good shout from you because I feel like Tampa Bay are pretty stacked at every position. There's when I look at their depth chart, there isn't one uh position that stands out to me as needing fixed or
No.
needing anyone in there. They are like they've got it all sorted in terms of personnel. Can they go back and repeat? I hope not, because I think we all know my stance on Tom Brady by now. Um, I'm not a hater of his, like, or
You're a
anything,
Brady
but
basher.
I'm not. But I like to see the
Yeah,
rings
and
shared about.
that's fair enough.
You know. But I agree with you. I'm putting Tampa Bay at 13-4 as well, actually. So yeah, I agree with you. And we'll move on now to the Panthers, another
Hmm.
team that are on the up. They've got a new quarterback in town, Sam Darnold. Um, and I think this year for the Panthers actually is a big year. I think they've got a lot of players in there who have something to prove. Sam being one of them, Robbie Anderson being another. Christian McCaffrey is another guy I think who has a lot to prove. Because he is considered one of these guys who is top of the cream of the crop really when it comes to running back. But I think what he doesn't want to happen to him is an Ezekiel Elliott kind of thing, where you see his name hyped and hyped and hyped, and then for him to get injured again and for him to not play much because, I think, it's one thing being a great running back, but it's another thing being healthy and being able to play every snap. And if Christian McCaffrey can do that this year, I think they're on to a winner there. So yeah, I mean, the Panthers didn't have the best offense last season, to be fair. They had Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback, who I feel didn't do well enough in terms of spreading the ball about. In my opinion, Teddy Bridgewater's kind of a check it down kind of guy. He didn't explore all the options he could have with the ball. And I think Sam Darnold is the kind of guy you want in there because he is going to explore options. He's going to throw it deep. He's going to try things. Maybe at the start of the season, it mightn't go well, end up throwing a few interceptions and things. But I think as the season progresses, he'll get comfortable and we'll see a wee bit of the kind of guy who he should have been coming out of college. Defensively, the Panthers are actually quite good, to be fair. I was surprised. I thought I couldn't actually think, when I thought about the Panthers, I thought, are they much on defense?
They are young.
They didn't stand out to me. They are young. They didn't stand out to me last year. But then when I looked closer, I figured out, they have a pretty good pass rush and a pretty good run defense as well. They got Brian Burns in there.
He's good, yeah.
His name's been floated around quite a lot. Shaq Thompson, obviously, is another guy. And, I think if the Panthers can repeat another good and strong defensive performance this season, I think you could be looking at a team that do quite well and possibly even make the playoffs, Zach.
Okay.
And I think it would be really good to see Sam Darnold and the band go into the 2021 playoffs. I think that would make an amazing story. And it'll be tight though. I will say that. I have them at 9-8.
Okay.
And that mightn't be enough the way things play out. Maybe it's a winning record. Last year you did see the Chicago team making the playoffs with a drawn record. So you never know. Never say never. But I think this year for the Panthers will be a bit better than years previous.
Yeah, I have them at 8 and 9. I'm not far behind you. I do think that this is definitely a team, maybe not on the rise, but like on a serious scale. But I do think they're gradually getting better. I'm interested to see what Sam Darnold does. You see what Adam Gase did to Ryan Tannehill in Miami, and then he escaped. Yeah. He escaped that Death Star, and then he went to Tennessee and turned his career around. So maybe we'll see that again. Christian McCaffrey, I have concerns about because of his size. I think he's an unbelievable player. I have no doubt in his ability, and I think that whenever he's on a team, if he's behind the running back or behind the quarterback, I think that completely turns your chances or turns your odds for success. But his size concerns me a bit because he's not your typical running back size. He's more of a tight end or a receiver, that sort of build. But I have no question his talent. And I think the defense, yeah, they're really good. Jeremy Chin was another name I threw out there at linebacker. He kind of can play at both positions, at both at safety and linebacker. He's a fantastic player. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Panthers. And finally, I'm going to go to the Atlanta Falcons, who I have finishing last in the division. Sorry, Falcons fans. So they missed the playoffs last year. They lost the first 5 and last 5 games of their season. They had heartbreaking close losses, a lot of blowing leads, which is something that Falcons fans are forever tormented by, with 28-3, and the worst one of which I think was against their game in Dallas, where they were leading into the fourth quarter. They gave an onside kick. And let Dallas have it. Dak Prescott goes on, and they score in that last drive to win. And then they had similar game with Chicago, blew a lead there as well. Their offense was 18th, 27th in rush and 5th in pass. You had Julio Jones go down injured, but that really opened the door for Calvin Ridley, who proved his worth, showed his ability, and I think he's going to be a fantastic piece around that offense, and definitely will make Matt Ryan's job a lot easier. And you had Gurley there. He's gone now, and maybe didn't get off to a brilliant start of his Falcons career. He fell into the end zone in Detroit. If you remember, whenever they were
I do remember this. I do. That was quite funny. So
I have questions about.
He didn't want to go in himself. I think he was aware of the fact that he had messed up there a wee bit.
So the offense I do think are good. Russell Gage was pretty good as well last year. You have the addition of Mike Davis in with Carolina, who stepped in for Christian McCaffrey when he was down. I was impressed with him, and let's not forget Kyle Pitts coming in, who is they're tipping him as a generational tight end. I'm really excited to see him in the NFL. But for me, the real question in this Falcons team, and this is where I have real concerns, is on defense. On the other side of the ball, they finished 29th last year, 6th in the run and 32nd in the pass. Yes, you've got some good talent there. You've got Grady Jarrett, who I think is a really good player. But beyond that, I don't really see many others. Deion Jones, okay. They went up to get him. He's finished last year with 4 sacks, which is very disappointing. You would expect more. N'Keal Harry, he was a great safety for the Falcons. He's now in Dallas. He had injuries problems as well. Whenever I look around the defense in Atlanta, nothing really pops off. There's nothing really that I look at and go, this is brilliant. When you have a new coaching staff in, new GM, Thomas Dimitrov, GM was fired, as well as Dan Quinn, a head coach. So you have Arthur Smith in, who's an offensive guy. I think I'll be interested to see what he can do. He did a fantastic job with Tennessee. And I do think that Matt Ryan definitely has a lot left to give. I think he's very underrated as a quarterback, and I just hope that the Falcons can provide him enough around him. But I do think they need to invest in their defense if they want to move forward.
Yeah, I think they will have a better season than they had last year.
Yeah,
I think defensively they do need to upgrade, which I think they should have done in the draft. But time will tell. Sometimes, you see players who were maybe drafted in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round come out and be really generational talents on defense. So that could happen. Kyle Pitts, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do this year. And actually, I'm going to Miami, hopefully, COVID allows. And I will be watching them take on the Atlanta Falcons at Hard Rock Stadium. So I might be able to see up close what they're made of. So I have them at 8-9 this season.
Okay.
So we'll see how that plays out. But let's now move to the AFC South. What an interesting division, to be honest, Zach. I think this is going to be a division that's going to be neck and neck. There's 3 teams, in my opinion, that could be vying for a playoff spot here. Possibly even 4 if the main man makes it back to Texas.
I don't think he will, but anyway.
Don't think he will. But I'm going to kick things off with the Tennessee Titans. I think the Titans are a Super Bowl favorite this year. We have touched on them on this podcast before. We did a segment on them maybe in our 2nd or 3rd podcast where we talked about the fact that with the addition of Julio Jones, I think that the Titans really do justify themselves as a good candidate for the big game in February. Will they make it though, is the question. And I think offensively they're sound. Like, I mean, of course, they've got Derrick Henry in backfield. Yeah. They've got AJ Brown, now Julio as well, split out. They've got Ryan Tannehill, a quarterback who you said earlier was held prisoner with Adam Gase in the Miami Dolphins team. And
not literally, just football-wise.
Well, you never know, Zach. You know, he might have been. Obviously, he was maybe given the get-out-of-jail-free card there when he got the move to the Titans. So it was really good to see that. And it was really good to see that he managed to kind of elevate his career again and bring it back to life. Defensively, here's the question. They will need a drastic improvement on defense to actually make that Super Bowl. I think people are actually forgetting about the fact that they had one of the worst ranked defenses last year. And I don't know if they've done enough to fix it with free agency and the draft. Time will tell, but they had the 28th ranked defense in 2020. I mean, that's pretty low. And obviously their offense was third ranked, so it's high up there. It is, and the defense. Yeah, it really is. So I think in order to make that playoff push, that deep playoff run, they're going to need to take a look at themselves and the defensive side of the ball, which I think that, you know, if they get that in shape, there's no reason why they can't be playing as that AFC team against Tom Brady. But yeah, I don't know. Mike Vrabel has definitely changed the culture there. It's a winning culture now in Tennessee.
Done a great job.
He has. And I trust him that he will be able to make the right decisions and get them further than they got last year, which was they got put out by the Ravens in the wild card round. So it was a close game though. It came down to one play. So if they can change things around this season, you never know.
Yeah, definitely. I agree as well. I think the defense needs to change a bit. I do think they've definitely, you know, tried to resolve some issues. They brought in Bud Dupree from the Steelers. You know, the end, and he also, their secondary was really what shot them in the foot. I think that Caleb Farley in the first round, you know, that'll definitely be a step in the right direction for them, possibly. And also, you know, they went into last season, they didn't actually have a defensive coordinator. They now have Shane Bowen in. So we'll see what he can do as well. But I think the addition of Julio Jones will help everybody involved. I think Ryan Tannehill will love him. I think AJ Brown will love him even more because it'll take that, you know, double team on Julio, opens up the door for everybody else, and King Henry can go in and, you know, stiff arm Josh Norman to his heart's content. So yeah, no, I have the Titans finishing 12-5. I think they'll win the division again, and I think they'll run on late into the playoffs. I've got to talk a bit now about a team who I'm really excited about next year, the Indianapolis Colts, who finished second last year in the division. Yeah. They improved from their 7-9 record in 2019 to finish 11-5, which was very, very good. They lost in the wild card round to the Bills, yes, but I do think that it was a season of progression. You know, you had. They had a new quarterback in Phillip Rivers as well, who a lot of people had questions about. Their offense finished 10th overall, 11th in rushing, 11th in passing. And I'm really excited about this running combo. I thought that Jonathan Taylor was unbelievable. Stepped in very well for whenever Marlon Mack went down. And you also have Naheem Hines as well, who I think's going to be a really good player. And I think that's a brilliant combo. You also have a fantastic O-line. You know, you have Quentin Nelson, who is, no joke, one of my favorite players in the NFL. I think the guy's an absolute stud.
Solid lineman, yeah.
You also have a brilliant left tackle. Eric Fisher's come from the Chiefs. Yeah. Great receivers, T.Y. Hilton. You know, you have Michael Pittman, who was a rookie last year. He had a 100-yard game against the Bills in the playoffs. And I do think that the addition of Carson Wentz is an interesting one. You know, he obviously had problems there with the Eagles. Things just didn't go to plan for anybody involved last season. And I think it's a great fresh start for him, you know, to link up again with Frank Reich, head coach. He was his OC, or he was one of his coaches in Philadelphia in that Super Bowl run. So I'm excited to see what he can do. Plus, he's playing behind an actual offensive line, whereas the Eagles didn't really, provide that for him last year. He took a lot of hits. Defense, I think they're a fantastic defense too. Finished 8th last year, 2nd against the run, 20th against the pass. Fantastic pieces. Forrest Buckner, I think, is an unbelievable player. You also have, Darius Leonard, one of the best linebackers in the league. And I do
one of the guys who I've got his jersey and I'm looking to sell it, by the way, signed. So I just had to throw this in here.
Just plug it there.
Sign Darius Leonard jersey if you want it.
You have to pay for it, But
well, you do. You're not just getting it for free, like.
In the draft, they did go defensively. Early picks. They took Quiddy Page, defensive end. And they also took a D end in the second run as well. So they're trying to look up and try and get a pass rush established. But I think this team really, it'll be interesting because Carson Wentz is their 5th different opening day quarterback. So if you can establish, a career resurgence for him, hopefully I do think that it'll be better for Carson Wentz. And that's really where it lies. I think the success of this team is basically how good Carson Wentz can play. And I think they'll do pretty well. I have them finishing 2nd at 10-7.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Actually, 10-7 sounds about right for that Colts team. My prediction's actually similar. I say 11-6. So what? Okay. But the funny thing is, I also say 11-6 for the Titans. But I think the Titans will finish top. But it's going to be that close. You know what I mean? They're going to have the same record.
Divisional game against the Colts. Yeah.
Could well be. But let's move on to a team that has it a bit dire this year, I think.
Oh dear.
The Houston Texans suck.
Yeah.
So obviously, as we all know, Deshaun Watson is in a sticky wicket. And I don't know if he gets himself out of it quick enough, or even if he gets himself out of it and even wants to play for the Texans. I'm going to make this prediction based on the fact that he doesn't play this season, because just everything that's going on, it just points in the direction that he won't be playing for Houston this season. I think even if he is cleared in time, he won't have had training camp and stuff. And I think the Texans are looking to trade him anyway. But that's a whole other issue for another day. I think the biggest question obviously is a QB. You've got Tyrod Taylor in there, who's a seasoned veteran. He's played in the league for many a year now, and he had a spell, probably his most successful spells with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
And I actually remember him quite well from that, and I thought he was quite a good QB. He's one of these guys that can use his feet. He can also throw the ball pretty well. But I just don't know if he's able to find success at the ripe old age of whatever he is, 30, 32, 33, 34, somewhere in there. I don't know. They've also got a young guy in there, though, Davis Mills. They drafted him out of Stanford. And I remember he was one of the guys that the 49ers took a wee bit of a dive into just before the draft. And I could remember his name was kind of swirling about as a late round pick. And I think that he's going to be successful, actually. I think he's got good leadership qualities and he's got the potential to do quite well. I just do feel sorry for him that he got put into a situation like this.
Yes.
But you never know. Whoever they choose to be quarterback there, we'll have to see how that works itself out. That being said, though, Zach, there are very few bright spots on this roster. Obviously, you took JJ Watt out of the defense. He's gone to the Cardinals
for nothing.
Yeah, I know.
That's baffles me.
Hopkins is obviously out as well. He was also to the Cardinals last season.
Will Fuller's out as well.
Yeah, also for nothing, by the way. And that being said, Deshaun Watson did allow them to have a pretty high ranked offense last year. They had the 13th ranked offense in the league. Now, not for 1 minute do I think that they'll be that high this year. The problem is they have a few weapons. They have Randall Cobb and they do have Brandon Cooks. But their run game is pretty non-existent, in my opinion. They have added, now they do have David Johnson in there. They've added Mark Ingram, Philip Lindsay,
yes,
who I'm sure you know well.
Rex Burkhead as well.
Yeah, they do. They have him too, and I think these guys might bring a wee bit more life to the whole thing. We'll have to see, what happens. But defensively as well, Zach, they're not looking too good. They had the 30th ranked defense this past season. David Culley, the new head coach there, has a lot of work to do.
He sure does.
Not only does he have to try to, encourage players to play, try to build his game plan and stuff. He also has to try and instill a culture that is a winning one. This is going to be difficult for him. It's a very tough task, and in my opinion, he's got the toughest task of 2021 ahead of him. And I think that the Texans will be looking at one of the worst records in the whole league this year. 3-14 is where I'm putting them.
Yeah, I have them at 2-15. I just think that what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to do a bit of a cleanup on aisle 3. They're going to have to sweep up the mess from the Bill O'Brien era, not only with coaching and all that, but the fact he was GM as well. He's made so many questionable decisions with draft picks and things. This is a team that needs a lot of first-round picks in order to completely rebuild, and he has sold the farm previously, so they haven't had those picks. They didn't have a first-round pick this year. With JJ Watt leaving, you need to go and get some draft picks out of that, and you didn't. You just let the guy go. I looked at a few of and I looked at the defense in particular. There's nothing really that stands out to me. Yes, you've got some things on the offense. And personally, I don't think we'll ever see Deshaun Watson in a Texans helmet ever again. I think he's long gone out of there. Because they've went out. They've got so many different quarterbacks this offseason as well. I'll throw Jeff Driscoll in there as well. He was with the Broncos last year. He's joined them. So yeah, I think the Texans definitely are a team that need a lot of help. And I do think that the GM Nick Caserio and new head coach David Culley have their work cut out, to say the least. I'm going to go to the last team of this evening, or the last team of our division roundup for the week, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had a pretty woeful 2020, only winning one game against the Colts, their division rivals, in week 1, lost every single game. They had a couple of tight ones. I think they took Packers to overtime. But the NFL, that's the beauty of the NFL. Whenever you finish last, it's not all bad news because you get to pick first. And they went out and they got their new quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, someone who's been tipped to be an NFL superstar since he was coming out of high school. You have also head coach Doug Marrone out and Urban Meyer in, who's three-time national champion in college football. He's college football royalty, so it will be interesting to see how that translates into the NFL. Offense finished 28th last year. However, I think that T. Law instead of Mike Glennon. I'm sorry, I'm picking Trevor Lawrence every time. I don't care that he's never taken a snap in the NFL.
What? Are you joking? Are you joking me? Mike Glennon? What do you mean? He's hard done by there.
James Robinson was a surprise talent.
Mike. Don't worry.
As a hashtag justice for Mike. James Robinson at running back, he was a great star last year, surprise star. Interested to see how he does this year. And I also think the addition of Travis Etienne from Clemson, also in the first round, will complement that well. You also have a couple more additions on wide receiver. You have Marvin Jones, who I think will work well with DJ Chark. Will give Trevor Lawrence some help out. And I think Marvin Jones has been around the league for a bit. He's a veteran now. I think that he will sort of make up for Trevor Lawrence's rookie mistakes and sort of patch up things that maybe a veteran quarterback wouldn't do, and that's just simply because of his inexperience. I think that will come. On defense, they finished 31st last year. You really have a lot of. They were an unbelievable defense. They were dubbed Saxonville in 2018 or 2017. Yep. You had a lot of people left. Jalen Ramsey's gone now. Calais Campbell has left. He's at the Ravens last year, previous to last year. So it's really. It's alternative chapters for the defense. I want to see Josh Allen, the defensive end there for the Jags, to have a really good season this year. He was picked pretty high a couple of years ago and hasn't really had a breakout season yet. I want that to happen this year. You also have Shaquille Griffin in, in the backfield from Seahawks. He's a great player. I think he'll be a good one as well. Yeah. And you also have Tebow. I think Tebow will be pretty good to help Trevor Lawrence, sort of steal the waters of the NFL. And also, if Trevor Lawrence is getting a wee bit overwhelmed by the cameras and the attention, chuck Tim Tebow, and he is Mr. TV in America. What I'm also interested to see is Urban Meyer. I think he's a guy who's been able to recruit in college football. Well, and you can't do that in the NFL. You have to draft. You have to go into free agency. You have a salary cap and everything.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how he can manage that. Will he be able?
Yeah, it's different for him. It'll be a bit of a learning curve, I think.
Will he be able to evaluate talent? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
So I have the Jags actually finished in third. I have them going 7-10.
Okay, that's actually not a bad recommendation there that you've given them. I think that they'll be one step better. I think that they're going to be 9-8 this year.
Okay.
I give them a winning record because, like you said, you're picking Trevor Lawrence every time, and if you're really backing him, I think you've got to look at the fact that he's got something ridiculous, isn't it? He hasn't lost a regular season game.
He is a serial winner.
Yeah, he hasn't lost a game ever.
He lost one of his only games at Clemson that he lost was the national championship game. He's won the year before that. He went unbeaten. So
yeah,
it's insane.
I think you've got to look at that, and I know it doesn't translate maybe across the whole team and stuff. And he is coming into an NFL team where it's completely different. But I think you look at a guy who goes unbeaten in a season and is a serial winner, as you say. And you've got to understand that mindset stays with you even when when you're going from step to step. And I think that not only will Trevor Lawrence come in as a rookie and play well, but I think he himself will change the culture in Jacksonville into a winning one. I think the guys will look up to him. I know he's only young, but I think he's got a great head on him. I think he's going to come in, and I think the guys will look up to him and think, well, we've got Trevor Lawrence now in our team.
Yeah.
We can win. We can do anything. And yes, okay, 9-8 is a pretty balanced record, but
it's progression.
It is progression, and it's better than what they've had. And sadly, the way this division goes, I don't think they make the playoffs this year. But they're coming up against tough opposition, and I think give them maybe 1 or 2 more years, and they could be in the playoffs.
Definitely. They're a team that I'm looking forward to watching in the future, and also us as UK fans will be able to watch the Jacksonville Jaguars, or Jaguars, whatever you want to call them, suit up and play at Wembley every year, which is something that we are blessed with, this opportunity, and to watch Trevor Lawrence every year will be a special thing. So they're definitely a team for the future. That will wrap up tonight's division breakdown, division rundown, and we cannot thank you enough for listening to another episode of the Hard Count Sports podcast. Please feel free to subscribe, like some of our videos, and we're also on our social. We've got social media. You can find all our socials on our YouTube channel. Please, feel free to tell your friends, anybody who's interested in American football,
anyone who likes
to check us out.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. And once again, please do, subscribe if you've liked this, because we've seen that, a lot of our listeners and viewers and stuff maybe aren't, committed like that. And that's fine. Maybe you just like listening to different types of videos here and there. But if you do listen to kind of every episode in and out, it'd be great if you could hit that button. And, I'll just say this is only our 9th episode, so we are still young and we're just getting off the ground here, but we appreciate everything you do for us and every listen you give us. So we'll be back next week with another guest, all being well, and we'll see you then.